show called Adventure Time. It aired back in the 2010s. You know, real popular little show. And it was kind of a pop culture kind of thing until it started losing relevance in like 2016 or something. And has 10 seasons of it, which I never got around to. And I've always wanted to get around to it. I bought a Blu-ray of the complete series of it so long ago, and I've always wanted to go back to it. But the thing that was always keeping me at bay was season 1 of Adventure Time. Because for a little background, as a kid, I watched seasons 2 to 4 of Adventure Time like religiously in like car rides, going back and forth between different places. So like I rewatched those seasons like so much. At this point, I probably watched it for like 15 times with and without the commentary, because like seasons 2 through 4 have all full commentary tracks for each individual episode of Adventure Time, which I think is one reason why I got so interested in like the behind the scenes stuff in these types of shows. And yeah, I was always just like, yeah, this is it. But I also own the season 1 box set for Adventure Time, but even as a kid, I just never really jived with it. And I think it's due to its weird... It's kind of like they're getting their foot into like the door, you know? They're like establishing like this world. It's like kind of like pacing with its jokes. And oh boy, there's some rough ones early on, but after like a complete rewatch, I am kind of surprised of how funny this show it can be. There's many times where I'm just like, oh man, wow, I got some gut laughter on there. And it's like, I didn't think I would have that in season 1, because as a kid I was like, this is kind of like the boring stuff. I think as a kid I really appreciated like lore and like episodes that connected one to the other, more into like a serialized nature than instead of like episodic. So like seasons 2 through 4 had like kind of more like, you know, sometimes they'll have like event episodes or like lore episodes that like progress this character's story to a certain thing. So I've rewatched season 1 of Adventure Time pretty recently, and I also did like a little fun kind of like rating score of like between an F to S in like a tier maker-esque way, because I cannot get away from I cannot get away from breaking shit, even the smallest stuff, including episodes. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do that and like write some thoughts, because I have like this idea of just like one big video of me talking about Adventure Time. So this is my homework, and I'm gonna do this medium to express this and explore my thoughts more thoroughly before making a giant video. I'd say the early season 1 of Adventure Time kind of gets bogged down sometimes by kind of like not cringy jokes, or like not cringy jokes, more like they really try to like emphasize like the catchphrase. So like the very first episode of Adventure Time, Slumber Party Panic, they really, I feel like they really wanted algebraic to be like one of Finn's like many catchphrases, because I remember like ads back in the day being like Slamacow, algebraic, and obviously the bacon pancakes, which that song's pretty good, but it just it feels like Finn in early season 1 is just kind of like a character that just spouts a bunch of nonsense most of the time. One thing, looking back on Adventure Time, just even like in this first season, is actually taking like a deep dive into these these characters seem more than like, oh, these are like the protagonists. So it's like, okay, I just vibe with them. But when looking back on it as like an adult, it's like, okay, do I like these people? Can they carry this show? And for the most part, they do. I'd say like later on in the half a season, Finn and Jake become much more fun, unless like we wanted to show a moral, because a lot of season 1 is they go on an adventure and then they kind of do this, and then there's like a moral, and then they'll either like stick with this moral or then upend this moral. It's like, this is the moral, but fuck you. And it's like, okay, do we really need to do this? It's just weird to like hand fist in like a weird moral. Like in the episode of Dungeon, Finn and Jake kind of have a little disagreement, and then Finn's like, I'm gonna do this on my own. I can do this by myself because Jake's magic, and he can basically solve any problem. Essentially, it's very creative. It gives a lot of potentials for like the animators and the writers to like create some fun, wacky stuff with Jake, because he can just be like whatever. You can like shape him to whatever. But a lot of times you have to write around Jake having just kind of like solve the issue thing. So they kind of make Jake into like an asshole most of the time, or lazy. Or it's like, I'm not gonna do that for like most of the time, until like he gets like slightly serious. But so this whole moral thing in this first episode is like, Finn goes through all this dungeon. It's like, oh man, I wish I had Jake to help me with these obstacles. And then it turns out at the end of the episode, Jake was also going back into looking for Finn. It's like, and then only Finn could do these things. It's like, okay, this is like a moral. I think the best like moral thing that they do. It's like it's fine to do stuff by yourself, but like to like not compare yourself to another person. But it's always helpful to like, you can't do everything by yourself and whatnot. And then it's like, okay, now they work together and they get this crystal, and then it's like, this cursed crystal, and then it's like, oh no, we're fucked. And then a character that was not introduced in the episode whatsoever, Bubblegum, just comes flying in and it's just like solves the episode. It's like, did you guys learn a lesson? It's like, you weren't even here. What context do you know of? Like, it's just like weird shit like that is just kind of like annoying, where they try to make a point and then sometimes it works, but then they'll just kind of like undercut it for like a weird joke. And in this case scenario, like Bubblegum comes out of nowhere, kind of slightly ruins what's like overall pretty good and neat episode. But a lot of like early episodes is like that. With the rewatch of these early seasons, it also made me aware of like how much of an asshole Jake is these first few things, because like Finn is more the proactive protagonist in like in these stories of like, okay, they're doing like the stuff. He's usually the main focus, and like Jake's kind of like usually like the side person who either helps or most of the time acts as like a weird secondary antagonist to like mess him up. I think the worst example of this is in the Witch's Garden, where Jake is stripped of his magical powers and is turned into a weird human baby thing, which is not a fun visual, and it's another problem I have with season one's like has a lot of gross out humor and like a lot of like faces that are just kind of like weird and disgusting. And like I guess that's kind of like part of it, because like 2010, some gross out humor makes sense. But Jake is just like the most unreasonable person ever, because like, okay, you're encroaching onto this person's thing, even though the witch is like unreasonable. Jake's being even more unreasonable of like, oh, I didn't touch your donuts, and he did. He just ate it. It's like, oh well, she strips him of his powers, and it's like, okay, and now Jake is just absolutely lazy, can't do anything, and is not even gonna try to attempt to get his powers back or try to like get the moral high ground, or not moral high ground. Try to like resolve this at all. It's just like he's just gonna sit down, lay it down with it, and just fucking. I don't know. He's gonna be weird man dog baby for his whole life. I think the scene that gets me the worst is when Finn is trying his damnedest to help Jake get back his powers, and then Jake is like, just can't be bothered to do anything, like just swim across a trash river. Oh no, I'm just gonna give up. It's like, okay, and then it's finally gets his recompense at the end, or should get his recompense at the end, where like Finn gets taken by like a mermaid fish bird thing, and it's like, oh no, the only way to save him is to get his powers back. So it goes back to the witch, and it's like, please, and it's like, eventually gets it back. It's like, and I feel like the witch in this scenario is like, okay, I'm gonna make you beg for your powers back, and to make you actually learn a lesson, if not just to encroach on someone's property for some reason. So it's like, gives it back, and it's like, well, did you learn your lesson? And then Jake's like, nope, punches her, and just fucking leaves, which is like, depending on how you find it, is a funny punchline, but it's also like, Jake's been incredibly insufferable this episode, and then at the end it's like, did you learn anything from this? No. You're just gonna still be an asshole? It's like, fucking, ugh. And like, sometimes it's funny when he's kind of like, but like, this is a side of Jake I never like even thought of as a kid, of like this kind of side to like use for like drama and conflict, which is like interesting. It's made me like Jake a little bit less than I did, because like, I think as a kid it's like, a magic dog, he can do anything, and it's always just interesting to see him. But he does get his moments later, and he goes through a whole dad arc. It's weird. Let's move back to a little bit more of the positive sides of this. I really love the world building and like the many different like shenanigans that Finn and Jake get up to. There's like some one-off like even like the one-off kind of like imaginary things, like the City of Thieves. I really like that setting, and Penny as like one-off characters to explore like this like funny gag of like just thieves stealing from each other over and over again, and going to a wizard school and just getting like weird wizard powers to get onto the like top, and then once you've mastered everything, you then become enslaved to like stopping this meteor from like crashing the earth. So like you just become like a magical powered battery machine to stop this like impending doom, which is such a fun concept. And the areas and aesthetics that become more of like mainstay locations, like the Ice Kingdom and the Candy Kingdom, and the whole Marceline thing, is like those like the three big things that get established in this season. Ice King and like his penguins is just always, every time every time Ice King's on screen, he absolutely kills it. It's like just immediate like bump up. He's so good, so fucking weird, and even early on, they set up signs to make Ice King the most tragic fucking character in existence, and I can't wait to relive that one season 4 episode with Ice King and Marceline, because that's probably one of my favorite episodes in the show period. It's just so good. And speaking of Marceline, like immediately, she's only in 2 of these episodes in like this entire season, and they are hands down the best ones in the season. With Eviction, it's just she just acts as a really cool antagonist. It also introduced like this concept to Kid Me of like, this idea is like home is kind of like where the heart is, and it's like that. I think that message is always kind of like like resonated me, and it's like the first time like that concept was introduced to me, and I think that's just really cool. And then I mean, she's just dope. She's just fucking dope. And the henchman. The henchman episode was the first episode of Adventure Time I ever saw being watched on like an iPad of like one of my cousins like was watching this episode, and like it instantly hooked me. And that's like from that point onwards, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna watch Adventure Time. It's like this is just kind of like it wasn't like anything you'd see on TV at the time, at least for me, for like, you know, kid me. And like the henchman is just such a good episode of like, it's kind of like a nice transitionary period from making Marceline an antagonist to like more like a, okay, now you're part of the ensemble kind of like friend group, but you're kind of like still like mischievous and like kind of like almost like an uneasy ally. Also introduces her axe guitar, which is peak. It's peak design, and like just axe guitar, play some music, hit some dudes. It's all great. And then the Candy Kingdom with Bubblegum and the Candy People. And in these early episodes, they have like weird candy lore in the very first like Slumber Party episode, where it's like if they get scared, they pop and die, which is funny, but then it's never, at least to my knowledge, I've only watched up to seasons 1 through 6 plus the Marceline mini series of like candy people explode when they die, and I don't think that's ever a thing again. But it does kind of classify the candy people as like a little stupid, and season 1 doesn't really go like into that. Besides part Slumber Party Panic, where it's like they kind of just like knock out like the zombie candy people and just eat them. It's like they're kind of like oblivious, which is funny, and they play on that a lot more later on to maybe a too much degree of making them stupid, but you know, they have fun with it. And Bubblegum's an interesting one because like clearly one of her main aspects early on with like a design wise is like Finn's the hero, Bubblegum's the princess. You know what that means. And they kind of like play into that trope. And like the way that the characters are designed, it's like I thought they were like the same age. Like as a kid, it's like Bubblegum's just like taller, but like no, she's like much older, and that becomes a major plot line later on. It was also a nice like first introduction to me of like the unattainable crush type type plot line, but it's not really like explored in this thing in this season because it's like they're kind of like assumed to be similar ages almost with how like they like interact. It's just like the only difference is Bubblegum's kind of like, oh, the smart scientist in the thing, and she starts out kind of like, just kind of like bubbly, kind of like, I'm kind of like just like a nerd and like whatnot. But in the later episodes, it's like you can kind of start seeing her like dark side, and like kind of like especially the one with like the Duke, where it's just like he just keeps eating like pudding, and then like Bubblegum's like unreasonably mad at the Duke for like no reason, and she just goes fucking unhinged and wants him executed. It's crazy. There's like a lot of like weird Arthurian dictatorship-esque things in the early seasons that I never picked up on, and then once those tendencies started to reveal themselves later on, it's like, wait, where did this come from? What's going on with Bubblegum? Now, I feel like they make every main character in this show interesting. I haven't even touched on with Jake's girlfriend of Lady Rainicorn. Like, I find the episode where Lady Rainicorn, Jake, and Finn kind of like getting together of like, oh, let's kind of like hang out. It's like kind of like your best friend, like your girlfriend, and kind of like trying to like, it's like you don't have like the balance between like the two, because like one the girlfriend's gonna like take more time out of the time. So like Jake starts to do this sitcom-esque solutions like, to solve my problem, I'm just gonna make sure that us three hang out all the time, and then that it weirdly backfires on Jake, where it's like Rainicorn and like Finn started like hanging out more. Very like funny concept. It's like Jake gets jealous, but not in like a romantic esque way. Just more like jealousy in that thing. But it was like weirdly an interesting exploration of like time management between two different relationships and like how to like alleviate it and like what is a healthy way, and like it's showing like kind of like the unhealthy way, and it's like in moderation and stuff. And I think it's really neat. I guess moving away from the season and like the show as a whole. So I have like the Blu-ray copy of Adventure Time. With Blu-ray and DVD extra features is like my shit, and like these box sets were like, this is my gateway into this shit. And season 1 has some interesting ones. It has like some like advertisements from the time, and like one music video showing off like a bunch of like other stuff. And based on like a lot of like behind the scenes stuff, it looks like this season 1 box set was kind of like finalized when season 5 was kind of like airing. So it's like you got some like stuff from like older seasons into here. So it was interesting, and also some commentary tracks, which I've only listened to like one full commentary track. Haven't listened to the other ones, and I've always never really liked the season 1 commentary tracks because it's just no insight. It's just like random stuff. I think the animatic one, I haven't listened to the animatic ones. I'm gonna do that to like check those out, because I love just like having the creators just like go in and stuff. And like season 1 box set so far hasn't really done that, because like the behind the scenes feature of the office tour, it's not really a behind the scenes. It's kind of behind the scenes look in the office tour, but it's kind of like a mini short film, which I love. Essentially, just like you can really feel like the energy around the office at the time, like that like creative spark, because the whole situation is like Finn's like this cartoon small gremlin creature around the office, making like just kind of like destroying shit, which is so good. And then like there's like a lot of like rotoscoping of like Finn like shoots acid at like one of the main writer's hands, and it's like, oh god. And it's like everybody acts pretty chill about it, and then eventually it goes into like the main writer gets like possessed by Finn by like sticking out of the ear and going to stuff. And it's like kind of like a mixture of like seeing like people like in these positions, like what they're doing, but like in like a fun like Adventure Time way. And it's got like a real cool home movie quality to it. Like it doesn't feel corporate. It's not like a highly edited interview documentary, unlike they do in like later like the season 5 bonus features. I remember I'm really interested for the later bonus features for season 6 through 10, because I think they got less and less with each passing release after Pendleton Ward, the creator of Adventure Time, kind of like left around season 5. Well, quote unquote, he left around like season 6. He was not really like the main guy anymore by like season 5, because like a lot of bonus features was just Penn just kind of like just recording shit and just doing stuff. And that's kind of what I see like Penn's philosophy. So it's like I just like this cool like D&D-esque adventure shit, and like here's my thoughts to it. And like nothing is best exemplifying like this thought to me is the one that he solo storyboarded in this season of Raining Day Daydream, where it's just Finn and Jake stuck in like in a knife storm, kind of like just like inside. It's like we're kind of like bored. It's like you're snowed in, or it's just like a rainy day. And then they just use their imaginations. Like Jake is like too imaginary, and like Finn's like not imaginary enough. Jake's imagination makes stuff into a reality, and he like his thoughts get out of control because he can't control like his subconscious thoughts. So like the first thing's like the floor is lava, and then it evolves into like all these like weird like Rube Goldberg machine traps, like weird creatures and goblins. It gets like a real, lack of a better word, Adventure Time feel to it. The genius part about this is like, for the most part, none of Jake's imaginary stuff is shown. Everything's like invisible. So they have to like animate stuff like around stuff not really like existing, and to like show this off to the audience, which is just so... It's so great. I love it, and I feel like you can just see like Penn's passion for, or like just like his imaginary like process in it. I know like he was constantly stressed throughout like the process of making all the seasons, especially season 1. I think I remember him talking about it being a stressful, very stressful time. So like, I feel like some episodes suffered for it, but some just kind of like really shine. It's like, this is what Adventure Time is. It's just like these two goofballs just kind of like having fun, going on adventures and stuff, in like this fantastical world full of very memorable characters. Most of season 1 I find is pretty mid, but like kind of like the shining like stars kind of like sparks imagination I had as a kid. It feels good going back to it, especially like going back into like seeing the bonus features, like going back to like a time where I was a kid and I was like, oh man. But yeah, that's kind of like my overall thoughts of this. I'm probably gonna once I finish season 2, I'm gonna probably do another one of these. I've wrote notes for like each individual episode that I haven't even like got into. But yeah, no, this is gonna be a fun ride, and I'm glad I got through season 1 because that was always like the main hurdle for me. So here's to another 9 seasons and a mini series, or 2 mini series. Or I think there's also a mini series after the show ended that I'm probably gonna watch. God, there's so much, but it'll be a fun ride. So thanks for listening to me ramble.